Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to the WCS Winter European Group. We are going to be moving into our winner's match here as another Terran versus Zerg is on the way. Two hard hitters. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined here by Zombie Grub. What are your thoughts on this match?
On this match, I think it's going to be the best match of the day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are probably anticipating that. And by the way, it is going to be Lambo versus HeroMarine. So, yeah, do you have any predictions on who you think is probably going to fare a little bit better or worse?
I'm kind of feeling it for I'm kind of feeling it for Lambo. I guess my default answer is HeroMarine usually, so I just went there.
Yeah.
No, but I'm actually feeling it for Lambo. It looked very strong, looked very confident. Confident Lambo is a damn good Zerg player, and while HeroMarine is usually confident, we have seen him, kind of struggling in the round of 32, surprisingly, and then his setup in the hotel.
Yeah, the setup in the hotel as he's attending DreamHack Leipzig, which is pretty cool. And the fact that actually, big shout out to Take TV, because he also tagged Take in the tweet he made saying Take was the one that actually provided his monitor. So thank you to Take for giving us some better games. But yeah, we'll see if he can make that setup work against a player like Lambo, who is looking to be in good form today. I would say kind of unfortunate, unlike Euthermal.
Yeah. Got some more specific comments about the micro that could go down here as well. But let's introduce the players. In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, for Mouse, it is HeroMarine. Mouse Sports. Yeah,
I was specifically told by our Blizzard representative that it is not Mouse Esports, it's Mouse Sports. Which, if you think about it, it's all one word. Maybe it's MOUS Esports. Has anyone ever thought about that?
I guarantee you people have.
I guarantee you there are people who are taking me seriously right now in Twitch chat. Starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player. He is Lambo. Team Clash.
The last time these guys played Home Story Cup? Not even the last Home Story Cup.
Yeah, it was June?
Yeah. And Lambo did take the victory, but it's 7-8 months, a long time.
Yeah, they played a lot in the past, though. These guys have hit each other, played each other. Not.
I think the one I saw before that was actually kind of a couple years ago.
Yeah, I do agree. Most of the games are from a long time ago, but let's see. I also pulled up these things.
2016 was the series before that, so they actually don't play as often as you would think.
Not recently, at least.
Right. For the last 2 years, both of them. I guess it's like HeroMarine, when he came back, basically full time. Yeah, I think 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
He basically made his mark pretty quickly. Another really good Terran. Thankfully for European scene, we have more than just one or two. And then Lambo really had his highlight year last year. He was on the up and up. So you really would have thought that they would have crossed paths more often in 2018, but not so. Just the one time.
Yep. Both of them, I'm sure, have been hitting each other on the ladder a lot, though. They both are streamers. They both are pretty active. And both, I believe, in the 7K club, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
7K MMR, for those who don't know what we're talking about. It's the new meme, apparently, on Twitter.
Yeah. I guess we should specify that. So I brought up the micro in regards to HeroMarine's hotel situation. And there are certainly matchups that pro gamers think are more determined by improper setups or ping than others. PvP is one of the ones I've heard is a severe difference maker when you are with bad ping cross server. TVZ, there might be a more of a feeling that HeroMarine might have to go for mech with his situation. It's slower style, right? But I say that he played a TVT, which is a very high octane matchup.
Yeah.
Well, against a very, very aggressive player.
I mean, a split second of a difference in TVT makes a world of difference in whether you get the interference matrices off in time, if the siege tanks get an extra shot off or two on yours, who sieges up faster, if your stim is there in time. All of these things make a huge impact, but he was still able to beat out Euthermal, exactly like you were saying. So we'll see. Maybe he's still feeling pretty good about it. He's got some confidence boosters from that first TVT against a good Terran player. And so far, doing a good job keeping that Reaper alive, poking forward. But the creep spread is still going to be moving out, as 3 queens is more than enough to push that back. And we see the starport coming up, but I want to know what is going to be coming onto that starport.
Lambo has no scouting, but beyond that, he has no overlords around to scout. I know Zerg players, at one point it was considered you have to have 2. Then it became, nah, you only have to have the 1. And now apparently Lambo's like, I don't have to have any on that side of the map. He has
That
literally
is
0.
interesting. Yeah. Maybe he just feels super confident that he knows what HeroMarine's going to go for. If HeroMarine is maybe on the ladder or something, just continuously going for the same style over and over again.
Well, he's the type of player to do that. It's a good point to make. Like, HeroMarine is the epitome of a macro player. He thinks that anything that's off build is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to say it. He thinks that cheeses are generally too risky, but he acknowledges that they are an important part of playing a best of. So,
Third CC being dropped down.
I wouldn't be surprised if Lambo was just saying HeroMarine's going to play this more of a macro passive style, and he's right. But I also think HeroMarine's totally capable of doing like a Hellbat push.
Yeah.
I guess that's where queens come in and usually are fine enough defense.
Okay, well, we do have a Baneling Nest coming down here for Lambo, so going to be relying on that.
Oh!
Composition and multiple factories.
Yeah, he started Stim at one point, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, okay, I'm not crazy.
He had the tech lab on the barracks, and the starport was producing a Viking. He made the one Viking and then swapped the tech lab over to the factory. I wonder if he saw something or if he just reconsidered maybe on his setup or what.
I am 99% sure he reconsidered because of his setup. I don't think he saw anything that tells him.
Unless, actually, this would be so funny, is if he was waiting for Lambo to move into an Overlord to scout, and then Lambo didn't scout at all.
I love when that happens. These Hellions actually break through the temporary wall made up of Lings, and they're continuing to do a lot of damage, really. The Queens can't take them down fast enough.
Yeah, 9 workers killed is definitely not too shabby. It was a lot of Hellions, to be fair, but still getting maybe a few more. Roast 2 more drones, roast 4 more drones. Goes up to 13 kills in exchange for, what was that, 8 Hellions?
Yeah, 8 Hellions and the Reaper were lost in that attack, but 13's a decent amount, plus a decent number of Lings. Queens temporarily off patrolling the front type deal. It would have been really sick if there was like a Liberator paired up with it, but we know we went for that Raven. Where is it, by the way? It's going to be great at clearing up the creep.
Ooh, he's going for the Magfield Accelerator style. I love those Cyclones.
You love them?
I love watching Terran Cyclone mech.
Yeah. All right, that's fair.
It's a very dangerous style, I think, which is actually a little bit surprising. I mean, I know we keep going back to his setup and stuff, but this is a style that I feel like we've seen Terran players just collapse because suddenly they miss micro a little bit and they start losing a ton of their Cyclones, and then just everything starts going wrong from there.
It feels like if you lose control and you let too much creep spread out, then it really is too much of an uphill battle. Briefly mentioned it in that TVZ with Nate that like I saw so many Cyclone builds simply not work. Obviously they work sometimes. People wouldn't be doing them if they didn't.
Yeah.
So much more often I see them not quite be up to par. It's actually a very difficult style to use. It's kind of like playing bio with mech. The idea is you have to be constantly on the front lines trying to see if you can kill up creep tumors, queens, something like that. And then it is still vulnerable if it's caught, just like bio would be.
Yeah, we'll see if he's going to be up for the task of controlling this and keeping Lambo a little bit pinned back. Cleaning up a lot of the creep spreads so far. Got most of the creep spread on the far south side and is trying to clean up some of the creep in the center. Pulls back as he gets a bit of a macro cycle in, pumps out some more of these Cyclones, but the infestation pit is finishing up, and are we going to be seeing the good old Hive come up, or is this for
It's got to be else? I mean, we have seen Swarm Host against this style, but I think that Vipers are so much better, so much more reliable.
I'm actually really curious. I haven't actually seen anything like this, but I've always wondered, with this style, just because the Cyclones and the Hellions, they're always running around, they're trying to play this mobile style, right? Would Infestors ever work out in this kind of situation, catching them?
Yeah, but you don't have to get Infestors until like a little later on.
Yeah.
You can actually hold off on Spellcasters and just get a really baller economy before you worry about actually engaging on the Cyclones. Lambo does go for Swarm Hosts, which I said like, that's the first time I've seen it against this style, but the obvious problems is that while it is mech, it's more of a mobile mech, so you're kind of scared of your Swarm Hosts eventually being run away from or caught, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot easier for this kind of army composition. By the way, this Hellions get a lot of damage done. 8 workers killed for just those couple of Hellions. But this army can easily move away from a big Swarmos wave, whereas a big Siege Tank army or something takes time to unsiege and run away. Maybe you lose some units in the process. But no, this army is made for getting out of the way of those Swarmos Locust waves. So we're going to see the Swarmos are popping now, but that base, it doesn't actually feel like it's going to be super well defended.
Well, it's not. Lambo was completely out of position. He lost all of his creep spreading queens, so that will impact the future of this game. And he just decides not to get into position to save it. He just goes for a counter, which there's not much here. That was all of HeroMarine's army.
Oh, this is going to be kind of interesting, though, because HeroMarine's moving his army through. If the Swarmos are able to unleash the Locust Wave now, they are going to catch a lot of the Cyclones as they're trying to move up that ramp. Are they going to get the damage on the Hellions starting to retreat back? This does give way for the Roaches to get on top of these SCVs. 25 workers already going down.
Well, he decided to pull them back into the Roaches, which, I mean, alternatively, they were going to a non-existent planetary, but that's why most of them died. They were trying to stem the flow of the Roaches into his production, which they did. They never reached the top of the ramp, or even really the natural, but 27 SCVs were lost. HeroMarine also took losses to the Locust, and we all know how that works. The Locusts are free. The Terran army isn't, so it ultimately runs out better for Lambo.
Yep, and now we have a weird situation where Lambo, of course, losing a 4th base versus HeroMarine losing a lot of workers and a bit of his army supply. But Lambo still has a higher army supply. He's able to try and deal with some of these Liberators thanks to the corrosive biles if they ever try and siege up a bit too aggressively.
I don't know why I ran back into him.
Yeah. Not the worst use of Locust over here, considering he only used a half of them, so he still has the other half off of cooldown. Actually, not even half. He's using like 25% of them each time.
Yeah, really nice, actually. So he's never caught in that position where he doesn't have half his army.
Bleeding off a lot of these Roaches and specifically the Ravagers as well, which is a bit painful.
This is really good Swarm Host usage against, if you're going to directly battle the Cyclones, then this is exactly, I think you should use them. So really nice stuff here from Lambo, who is also adding on some, maybe it's a Mistakeless Infestor, maybe it's legit, but just continuing to add on Roaches. He's also double expanding behind this, so HeroMarine, with his 4 CCs, probably thought there was a potential to come back economy-wise, but he is about to lose out on it, especially because that 4th isn't going to be a planetary.
Yeah, it's kind of funny though, Lambo has he's doing a great job with staggering the Locust waves, and that's good for, I guess, defending and keeping this army back, but he's not really making progress, and he's bleeding off Roaches after Roaches after Roaches. Again, it's buying him space, but I am wondering if it's actually getting enough damage on him. He's starting to kill off a couple of the Cyclones now, which is going a bit better.
I think ultimately it is. I think what Lambo is trying to achieve here is just the HeroMarine can't move anywhere else. He gets pinned back to a wall because he's so close to doing it.
That's fair. Oh, okay, those corrosive piles connecting on a lot of Cyclones. There is some counter damage happening with the Liberators sieging up at all the different bases, even taking out some of the larvae. But HeroMarine is finally losing the ground. There is that one Infestor that if it gets a good fungal growth, pair that up with the Locust, and those are going to be a lot of dead Terran units.
HeroMarine, I think, is noticeably struggling with the idea of what to do. Like, what exactly do you do here? I feel like maybe getting some tanks just defensively might have been better, but obviously, you know, the Swarm Hosts are kind of designed to take on tanks, so it's this real catch-22. They would be helpful against the Roaches that are coming at him as well, but it's just hold on and hope that Lambo overextends.
Yeah, nice high ground position over here is helping out a good bit, and you can see that the Roaches and Ravagers starting to get picked off once again. Only 4 Ravagers left over. The profiles have been really, really nice for him in a lot of these fights, but as he starts to bleed off more and more of these, I don't think that too many of them are getting replaced.
So he's finally pushed the army back enough to maybe control the map.
Lambo took a 4th and a 5th base this time, though, so it's kind of difficult. Even if you sniped off one of these hatcheries would actually be enough. I like that he's been able to deny mining for both those bases this entire time.
Exactly. Like, that is considerable. The double hatchery was supposed to be something where 65 drones could freely mine, and he never went back up to a decent number of drones. He's still only at 47, and even if he did, they wouldn't have been mining. They would have been just doing nothing with the Liberator siege up. So that was a very important Liberator harassment section, as HeroMarine barely held on. Lambo probably thought he could win the game, and that's why he didn't bother replacing them. But he's still not, so I'm not sure what he's thinking.
2 Infestors still out on the map. The Pathogen Glands is on the way, so it seems like Lambo does want to commit to making maybe a few more Infestors, especially if he loses 1 or 2 of them here, as those Cyclones do have a pretty nice lock-on range. Locust Wave used a lot of the Locusts are actually now on cooldown, or the Swarmos are on cooldown, and that does maybe buy HeroMarine the opportunity to sneak up to the north side of the map and snipe off that hatchery.
Yeah, he's now, once he has control over the map, it gets easier to just simply run away from the Locust and say, okay, you'll get me later. And this is where snipes on bases will go down. Hellions might get some more harassment into as Swarm Hosts. They're faster than they once were, but it's pretty chunky.
Army's pretty out of position here, and that hatchery's already softened up a little bit. If the Cyclones lock onto the hatchery, might be able to get it, but he doesn't know how far away the army is. He scans and he sees that the army is now coming, so decides to back off. Maybe missing an opportunity there, but I like that he's playing it a bit safer.
Well, he also scanned infestors, which there's one for a time now, but now Lambo is going for quite a few, and that is very dangerous. One fungal can mean the death of 6 cyclones easily, and especially to the locusts, which are still free. They're still finding value.
Yep, still finding nice bits of value as they pick off more and more of these SCVs. 6 of them go down. Big run by over here from HeroMarine is going to dart up to the north side. That is a lot of roaches you do not want to engage into.
Oh, the swarm host, finally it happened. The locusts have all been used, and HeroMarine immediately pounced. While a big number of Roach Ravager can maybe protect the swarm host, that's the thing, is that there's not a lot of supply for that. The fungals aren't around either. They're being pulled to help out with the attack and the natural. Now they're here. It's a little late.
Yep, I mean, trading out for effectively the only real mining base there for Lambo in exchange for a handful of his units. I think HeroMarine is going to be quite happy with that as long as he can defend. But like you said, taking out all of those Swarmos is such a big deal. It's just inflated roach supply with a few infestors mixed in.
Yeah. We didn't really get to know, but HeroMarine has been struggling. Both of them have been struggling to really add on any upgrades. Very tight economic race.
One of the infestors going down. A second infestor goes down before it gets any fungals off. The third infestor gets knocked out. And now it's just Roach Ravager with an anti-armor missile on it. This is a tough, tough situation for Lambo. He's on top of one of these bases, though, and it looks like a lot of SCVs may end up falling here. Is it going to be enough to equalize the damage he just took to his economy with no hatcheries being thrown down either?
Well, I think the problem is that HeroMarine, as long as he has space to maneuver, his army is going to be better than what Lambo has. Lambo's lost all of his spellcasters. The swarm hosts, I think they mostly all die. They're not very helpful. And eventually Lambo will lose his army and not be able to replace it. Not that HeroMarine is in any better position to replace his army, just that he won't lose it.
Yep. And we see Burrow trying to come out, but what roaches are there going to be to Burrows? All these Ravagers get taken out. GG, HeroMarine claws his way back into that game after a very long siege up from Lambo.
Yeah, but some really important things happened during that siege up. The Liberators denied mining on a very low economy to begin with. Lambo probably thought he could win, so there might have been a bit of tunnel vision there that HeroMarine was able to circumvent. And that, I feel like, that was a really good game by HeroMarine, first of all. But I feel like Lambo actually made the game more complicated than it had to be by going swarm hosts. Personal opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. And that may just be kind of his response or how he's practiced against that. But like you said, the mobility of especially that the mech army, as soon as HeroMarine was able to push back the army and the Swarmos weren't directly at his front door, we saw immediately he goes in and snipes off bases. The mobility of even the Liberators being able to put that pressure on, and because there was just no anti-air besides the Queens, there was actually nothing. It was the Queens and the Ravagers, but the Ravagers are all at the front door. They have to be there to help out with the army engagements. So then there's nothing to clean up the Liberators for such a long time. Like you said, the tunnel vision really hurting Lambo there.
Yeah, but it was close to winning the game for sure. He was kind of right in his tunnel vision. He almost had it. But that lack of economy, the lack of being able to flood, because it's still something you get over the mech player, even if you're going for an expensive composition, wasn't there when you're on a sub-50 drones.
Indeed. Well, that does mean that now we have a situation where HeroMarine is sitting up 1-0 in the winners match. One game away from moving on to that round robin. We'll see if he can make it there as we move into Port Alexander for game number 2. Lambo, love to be able to make it out nice and early on, as of course, he may have a rematch versus Hate Me in the lower bracket. Otherwise,
it's correct. That would be a rematch. And while Lambo looked very convincing against Hate Me, yesterday we had some convincing first starts, and then they ended up getting the group curse. So
I'm just afraid of any time there's a rematch now. I don't. You know what? You put Cyril, anyone but Cyril in a rematch. I was about to say you put Cyril in a rematch, and I'm like, maybe they could beat him. No. Not even Cyril.
Yeah, he's immune.
Anyone but Cyril.
Yeah. We're spawning here in the top left. And I have the wrong score. There we go. In the top left, he is up 1. It is the blue Terran HeroMarine.
And down in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player from Team Clash. He is Lambo.
And one thing we can say about that game was that Lambo had all of the information that he needed, despite that Overlord thing we were talking about in the earlier game. He saw how many Hellions there were, so he knew it was going to be mech. He saw the initial 2 Cyclone harassment. He knew it was going to be Cyclone mech. There was no bamboozling, and I don't think there's a lack of experience either. Lambo's probably faced this style many times on ladder by this point, but just the decision to go for Swarm Hosts, I wonder how effective it is for him. I wonder how often he does bully back the Terran in the same exact position and actually win.
What style actually do you prefer to see against that sort of composition?
You build a handful of roaches to make sure the Cyclones don't snipe your 4 bases. You can have 4 bases, and then up to like 70 drones, and then you buy time for spellcasters, whether it's Fungals or Vipers. Vipers being especially difficult to deal with. Fungals, sometimes they get locked on and killed. But yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. And eventually you can also replace the roaches for just pure Hydra. All right, non-armored units against the regular Cyclone attack. And I mean, that's where I've seen the most effectiveness.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I mean, we definitely saw some of that in the engagements and stuff from Lambo, maybe going kind of in that direction, but at that point he really lost so much. After he'd lost to Swarmos, he was obviously just forced into like, I'm making a bunch of roaches and I have some of the infestors out, but he had already lost so much at that point and his economy was so far behind that maybe it didn't work out there. But we'll see if Lambo's going to make any kind of adjustments. And also if HeroMarine's going to make any adjustments, as again, this game we did see, or sorry, last game, we did see that HeroMarine was able to make that work, narrowly, admittedly, but it worked pretty well. And HeroMarine is the kind of player that will just go for the same kind of build multiple games in a row, for an entire series sometimes.
Yeah. And if he feels more comfortable with that style in his current position, in his, the hotel position, then more power to him. We have a faster lair, much faster.
Yeah, no Zergling speed. And the Reaper eventually will kind of catch wind of this, even if it doesn't make its way into the main base, because it'll say, well, your Lings still haven't caught my Reaper. That's a little funny.
Yeah, but that's a trick, isn't it? Sometimes this Reaper sees a third base, kind of checks to see if there's like a lot of Lings, and then it goes home to pair up with the Hellions. And depending on the player, sometimes they're more defensive with their Hellions than aggressive. I think HeroMarine, he waited for those 8 Hellions to be really aggressive, wasn't he? Like, he didn't send 2 out immediately and get scouting, although...
He was pretty defensive about it for a while.
Yeah, so that's where the trick comes in. That's where the important timing of the scout gets skipped. Similar to it feels like it's similar to when the Oracle is supposed to get the scout, but then misses the Ling Baneling timing.
Yeah,
like,
last map was Kairos. I'm thinking of it like this maybe... Okay, well, there's a Nidus Storm coming down.
Yeah.
So we have Cloak on the way and a Banshee, so that can sometimes be useful if you can actually get Cloak finished up in time. The Banshees will, of course, whittle away at those roaches, but usually you're going to have some Queens added into this attack. So is HeroMarine actually going to be in position or even know that this is going to be coming anytime soon?
So he was a little reserved with his Hellions. He waited for 2 more to stop any Ling run bys because he hasn't realized there's no speed. His Reaper hasn't been touched again since it moved back home like I said it would. And then these Hellions aren't actually getting any further scouting, so this is a complete surprise.
Now you definitely know about it. The Hellions do very little damage versus the heavily armored Nidus Swarm. SCV is also being pulled off the line, and I believe that we got a lot of Queens on the front line, ready to transfuse.
Okay.
Okay.
I was a little scared, but I guess Lambo realized it wasn't being taken down that quickly. The Queens used a lot of transfuse ultimately on that Nidus Swarm, though, so they're not able to transfuse each other.
Yeah, but the Roaches have taken out 21 workers. It's now 15 to 28. The Banshee gets taken out by the last Queen, and even though Cloak is getting close to finishing up, the next Banshee is only halfway done. More of these workers are going to start going down. The Hellions doing their best to hold the line, and I think by the time the Banshee pops out, there might even be another Queen already out.
That's what Lambo's certainly hoping for, but he's also building Spore Crawlers, so that'll take care of the Banshee super easy. This seems to be an effective build from Lambo, game winning, even though the worker count for both sides is still, I mean, it's low for Lambo too, only at 26.
And there it is. GG gets called. Lambo ties up the series 1-1.
Yep. Aggressive build wasn't scouted. I literally spent a minute talking about how Lambo had perfect information last game.
Yeah.
Or close to it. And then HeroMarine had no information.
Yeah, definitely getting punished there a little bit. And wow, I don't even know that there's a whole lot more to break down there outside of HeroMarine just had no idea that was coming, and he was not super prepared for it.
It is the difference of, you know, the Reaper being able to get into the main base, but that was a map where you can't really do that easily, and a lot of Terran players aren't aggressive with their Reaper in that sense. They don't bother going to the main base at all. And then you also could maybe get the first 2 Hellions. Like, actually, the first 2 Hellions immediately rallied across the map, and you could see the lack of link speed, and then maybe there's a bit of a question mark. But he waited. He waited for 2 more to make sure link speed wouldn't be a problem, and it was the same gap that I feel exists with the Protoss for Zerg, man. You just like, I have these things to scout. I scout literally 9 out of 10 things. I missed that one thing. This is dumb.
I always love when I see these kind of things, especially when I know these players have been playing on the ladder versus each other, because I always just imagine what goes through Lambo's head every single time. He's like, okay, I see that this is a weakness, but I'm not going to exploit it until the actual tournament. I'm not going to exploit it until WCS winter groups happen, because that's when I'm going to be able to actually start maybe netting a win off of this. A really, really good identification. And maybe it's, I don't know actually if Lambo was deciding this based off of like the first game, or he's watching any of the other series that are happening, or if he just had this planned out for the entire past week. But either way, works out really well.
Yeah, it does. And that was a good map, especially to bring it out on, I think. It was maybe a big contributor to his idea to do that. So just another Nitosaur, getting another Terran down.
Okay, well, game number 3, Cyber Forest is going to be the next map to decide who moves on to the round robin stage and who's going to go down to face off versus Hate Me. You're going to stick with your Lambo prediction?
I am, yes.
Okay. All right, map is loading on up. I'm going to deliberately avoid making any predictions after how bad I was at predictions yesterday.
Just be fun, Ravi. Just be a mushroom. Be a fun guy.
I'm just
a HeroMarine.
I'm just afraid because Wardy has given me a lot. He's given me a lot of flack for sometimes predicting NA players and then cursing them. Even sometimes when they're favored, I will somehow curse the NA players by predicting them to do well.
I do remember that being a thing.
Yeah, so I'm just not gonna make any enemies with the Europeans.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. In the top left, as the blue Terran, he is HeroMarine.
Just breaking over 100K, sitting at $101,200. Starting down near the bottom right-hand corner of the map, going for a pool first. He is Clash's Lambo. And much like a Lamborghini, getting the series started a little bit faster.
Sneaky, sneaky boy. He was like, he played one game against Cyclones, didn't work out when it was supposed to, and he was like, you know what? Not that. I'm not about that life. Let's just end the game earlier.
Yep. Now, this is not like a 12 pool or anything, right? This is that good old 15 or 16 pool. So he's just going to make a few lings, send them across the map, see if he can deny a low ground command center, or maybe get just a SCV sniper or something. Yeah,
well, HeroMarine hasn't been SCV scouting, so this is kind of the safe option to go for the aggressive ling. It's also been the case that the Reaper has not stayed at home, I don't believe. So everything kind of the check marks are there. It was a 16 pool, not just a pool first off of 17, a little bit sooner, and then, well, he makes the decision to not just go for 6 lings or even 2. He actually does slap down that Roach Warren, so it is turning into quite dedicated attack. He's going to end the game nice and early, take advantage of HeroMarine's. I mean, this is something that HeroMarine is, he hates dealing with and is vulnerable against.
Yeah. It is certainly going to be a bit tough based on how late is going to be scouting something like this out, but it is still holdable. We've seen some players make it work. We'll see.
He's doing exactly what Lambo wants him to do.
Okay.
Which is why I'm already sad here.
Oh no, the worst case situation would be that you immediately pull back the Reaper to help deal with the lings and you don't scout in. He's gonna see, I mean, is it weird to see no drones this early on? No, right? At the natural?
It's still a little weird, but he didn't even get back there to see it.
Oh my god, and he pulled the Reaper back, so he's not gonna see the Roaches at all.
Yeah, what he was confirming was that it wasn't a 1-base Roach Ravager all in, but he's missing the 2-base, and this is so much 9 mining time. He actually doesn't really need this command center to finish if he realized how dedicated it was. I mean, he would want a command center eventually, but he's missing. He's missing the scout, and Lambo is joining behind this, just looking for whatever damage he can find. He's not going to be able to cancel a CC completely.
And he encounters the Roach in the middle of the map and pulls back, and now he knows what he's up against. What is his reaction going to be? It leaves the command center to finish up at this point. It's already
Yeah.
so invested into finishing.
Right. I mean, you have enough minerals too,
Yeah.
and hopefully they spend time killing it is like the ultimate goal. But Lambo's smart enough not to do that. Well, that's not supposed to happen.
Okay. Yeah, leaving the depot down. That's an
Well,
interesting one.
Was it on purpose? I don't
Was he
think
trying to
so.
trap in these units?
No. No.
Okay, well, he had another opportunity to raise it right there, but he decides not to. Some Marines popping out and going to try and use those SCVs to buffer, but these roaches on the right-hand side, they just don't take much damage from SCVs.
I was gonna say he didn't start anything. There's a tank now, finally. A Viking that would be helpful if it was only about stopping the corrosive vials, but
it's already 9 workers to
Yeah,
29. This is already enough damage that Lambo could transition out, and he knows it. He's already starting on more drones.
Well,
He's getting observing speed.
he was doing it in the first place. Like, this was so much more than Lambo could have hoped for. GG. Especially, like, you know, the best thing that can happen is that you catch the command center at 99% and you get that kill, and then you contain for a long time. That's already, like, a good enough start. But to actually get into the main base, that had to have been a mistake.
That's pretty tough.
It's not a good strat, I guess, is what is what we proved there.
Yeah. A little bit rough there for HeroMarine, as I'm sure it must have felt like not great, because game number 1, he was holding on versus not exactly, I don't want to say that it was like a super macro game from either one of those guys, but it did go to like 3, 4, 5 bases there for Lambo. Yeah. It was like this kind of back and forth, at least mid-late game stage kind of situation. And then game number 2 was like Nidus Storm. Oh, I didn't scat it, I died. Oh, Roaches. I left my depot down and I didn't scat it. I died. Whoops.
Yeah,
that's a frustrating way to lose.
It's so painful, though, because that really was a position where if a supply depot was up, the game is still going on.
Yeah.
And I know HeroMarine knows how to defend against that, so it's not like this thing where he keeps his main base alive and then just, like, does nothing for a long time. It's just, that was even worse than Nidus Storm, in my opinion.
It's a bit unfortunate, but congratulations to Lambo. He outsmarts his way into the round robin, now sitting in the round 8. HeroMarine still going to be fighting for that same slot as he has to go up against Hate Me in the decider match. So ladies and gentlemen, one more Terran versus Zerg for our European group. We'll see you there.